India's commercial vehicle sector is undergoing multiple transformations, which is driven by ambitious EV targets, clean energy initiatives, and a push towards net zero emissions. However, the industry still faces multiple challenges in India. And what are those challenges and how to resolve them is a big question. So, to take a deep dive into this, I have a special guest with me, and he is Mr. Anirudh Bhuwalka, who is the founder and MD at Blue Energy Motors. So, Anirudh, welcome to this interview.
Thank you, Tejas.
So, Anirudh, first of all, before we get a deep dive into the main set of questions, I would like to understand from you the idea of Blue Energy Motors, how that idea came into being, and where you are, in the present, what's the present status quo, and why Blue Energy?
So, Blue Energy Motors was founded by me along with Mr. Anshuman Riyat SR. And the original idea came from him in terms of LNG. As to the question we asked is that why India has not adopted LNG. I came up with the idea for the electric, he came up with the idea for LNG. And when we were in COVID way back in 2021, we asked the question that India has 4 million heavy-duty trucks. If it continues to grow at the rate of 6 to 7%, the market is going to double over the next decade or so. It emits currently 450 million tons of CO2 today. In the next 10 years, you can imagine what that number is going to be. Cities are anyways not livable today. And if we don't do something about it, this is going to be an issue. Number two, two-wheelers have gone electric, three-wheelers have gone electric, buses are going electric, cars are going electric. But trucks, which contributes a majority of the vehicular pollution, is not being addressed yet. And so we came up with a dual strategy of decarbonizing medium and heavy duty trucks in India. And that was really the vision and the mission of Blue Energy Motors. And we came up with a dual strategy, that LNG for long haul and electric for short haul. And so fast forwarded to today where we are the number one LNG truck producer in the country. We have more than 1,200 trucks on the road. We have more than 100 million kilometers. We have saved CO2 almost 30,000 tons. That's a kind of impact that has happened. And now we find that the flywheel on the LNG is starting to move a little bit. And last year in October, we launched India's first electric heavy-duty truck with battery swapping technology. We are on our way in introducing that in the market. And our fundamental mission is, how can we be a catalyst for transitioning India from a fossil fuel present to a diesel-free future. That's really the...
So, well, if you talk about like Blue Energy, as you mentioned, so the whole idea was to basically, turn the commercial vehicles towards EV, and then you have this two-pronged approach where you have LNG-based vehicles also, and for the long haul, and then you have EV-based vehicles also. Now, you have shared your initiatives, like your side of the story. But when you look at India as a country, as a market, how has India evolved in terms of adoption of EV, adoption of electric vehicles? And if we look at the present status quo, are we even ready for that explosion of EVs, that every household should have EV, people should move towards EV? Are we still ready for it?
I think, from an evolution point of view, India is fast-tracking penetration of EV at a fairly good pace. And I think that if you really look at the playbooks of countries like China, and even for that example, if you want to take US as an example, I think their penetration has happened quite rapidly over the last 5 years. India started the journey a little bit late, but it's catching up very, very fast. Our issues are different than countries like China and the US and so on and so forth. But I think that with any new technology coming in, there is a curation period. And I think we have hit the inflection point, in my view, where the market is seized of the opportunity of electric. The benefits are clearly to be seen. And I think adoption is starting to happen. If you look at the numbers across the board, they might be small numbers to start with, but they are compounding very fast. And I believe that over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see this compounding effect in terms of penetration happening very fast.
Okay. So if you have to just, like as you said, that the adoption is already on the go, and the people have started basically adopting. So if you have to give me some top 5 factors or initiatives that the government has taken, or let's say geopolitical issues, and what are some of the top 5 factors that are basically pushing this?
See, I think there was always the concept of being green, being clean, and being cost effective. That was always the nature of the EV, right? The West Asia crisis has just compounded that that issue completely, where people are now starting to realize the real world benefits of going to EV. Earlier, the narrative was around the cost and the cleanliness of it. But I think that now the narrative is shifted to energy security, where people are finding that what if there is a shortage of diesel, or whether there's a shortage of gas, and obviously the recent fuel price hike, it all affects the consumer at the end. So I think, it has just been a nice tailwind to the already process of electrification which had already started. So I think the geopolitical factors in terms of the West Asia crisis, the fact that there was already a momentum in electric, and the fact that this whole energy security narrative is starting to play itself out, these confluence of factors is really pushing the EV penetration, and for that matter, alternate fuel in a hurry.
Sure. Also, Anirudh, I would like to understand from you that, like we were discussing before also, when it comes to LNGs or CNGs, so India already has a well-established network of CNGs, right? And the players in those market have, they have customers, a huge base of customers. Customers have also moved to CNG, as one of their preferred sources, fuel. So why do you think that the government is being so bullish on EV? Because the motive of getting CNG was also the environment and pollution related issues, and to go green. Also gas plays as a transition fuel, as we are all aware about it. So why EV is being pushed, and do you think that it's unfair for the gas economy that that the benefits are not being placed for the people who are buying gas based vehicles, or there are not many schemes or subsidies that are being offered by the government right upfront when it comes to CNG, but the entire push all of a sudden has been gone to the EV sector?
So, I think that the government's direction of India moving to a gas-based economy is clearly there. It's been there for a while now, and that is the reason why initially also they gave IOC the mandate of putting LNG stations. And even with whatever narratives you see, they want to move India to a gas-based economy, whether it's coal gasification or whether it is CBD, whatever that may be. So I think the theme for the government is energy independence, right? And I think that leads to two corridors. Okay, one is of course EV, and the other one is gas. I think Niti Aayog has already made a recommendation to the government to give a little push on the policy front on LNG for long haul trucking. I think that those recommendations have already been made. But having said that, I think directionally the government is committed to moving to a gas-based economy. On the EV side, I think the numbers are there to speak. I mean, there's a clear benefit in terms of EV as well. And I think, both these pushes are coming for sure. EV helps across the board, from two-wheelers to trucks. It basically cuts across the board. Gas may not cut across the board. It kind of hits specific sectors. But I don't think so there is a bias towards A versus B. I think that they're running both the agendas quite feverishly.
Okay, so basically we can expect that in the near future, it will be more driven by both the kind of fuels, right? Be it gas, be it EVs, both will be preferred in the times to come.
Yeah, so I think there is no cookie cutter rule in terms of which technology will win the day. I think it would be premature to say that diesel will be completely go out of the market, or LNG will win the day, or for that matter, EV will win the day, or for example, hydrogen. I think as a country and as an economy, these are the technologies which are available. We need to get ready for them, and we need to provide the environment to promote them. and then let the market forces decide which technology wins at the end of the day.
Sure, sure. I think you're right on that. That more or less it's a speculation if we say that okay, diesel will fade off or EV will win the race. It's more or less speculation because you don't know what's going to happen next and how or what kind of solutions will play a key role in turning the situations around. Now, another thing that I would want to ask you, like if we come back to the blue energy story, why did you start with commercial vehicles? I mean, commercial vehicle is already difficult to crack, especially in the EV space, considering firstly that there's a lot of long haul travel that as you mentioned that you also have LNG for that. But the other factors that remain, or could be a key in deciding would be the payload that they carry, right? The battery capacities that would be required would be huge to run those trucks. So, how did you crack that, and what was the idea behind this?
So, see, very clearly, heavy commercial vehicles was not a focus area for decarbonization for most. And we found an opportunity there because if you really look at, we came up with a dual strategy of LNG for long haul and electric for short haul. When you look at LNG for long haul and you look at the economics, and I say this because I think commercial vehicle will always be driven on operating economics. Policy push can give you a flip up, but ultimately operating economics is what is going to move the needle. And in LNG, the hypothesis was very clear. A, from an Indian context, it moves the needle on CO2 by almost 35 to 40%. Two, it is a very mature and a versatile technology. Three, there is an arbitrage between diesel price and LNG price today. And last but not the least, LNG engines versus diesel engines are more fuel efficient in the Indian context with respect to diesel. If you assume that 65% of the operating cost is fuel, this creates a natural arbitrage in terms of operating economics, which favor LNG. And the icing on the cake, of course, is the fact that it also moves the needle on CO2. So it was just a matter of time that one needed to crack this and solve for this problem. And so when we saw this problem, we said that, okay, clearly nobody's done it. So why don't we put the first pieces together and move the needle? When it comes to electric, like I said, that we said that short haul is the way to go. But electric has 5 key challenges. First is range. You have a range problem in cars, trucks are more so. You have a charging time. Trucks need to be running. You take 1 to 1.5 hours, sometimes 2 hours to charge. Charging infrastructure. You need quite a robust charging infrastructure to support trucks. Capital cost. Even after all the euphoria around incentives and freebies and so on and so forth, you are still faced with a 2.5 to 3 times capital cost difference between diesel and electric. And last but not the least, after doing all of that, the fleet operator or the transporter needs to make money. So the adoption becomes difficult. So the way we solved it is that we came up with India's first electric heavy duty truck with battery swap technology. And what it really does is that, let's say you have a swap station in Mumbai and you have a swap station in Pune. So you basically come into a swap station like you go to a diesel or a gas station and you swap your battery in less than 5 minutes. And then you get a run for about 100 to 150 kilometers. You reach Pune, you unload your cargo, and then on the truck on the way back, it swaps again. So by definition, your charging time for the customer is down to less than 5 minutes. By definition, your range is unlimited because now you can, in a 6-hour or 8-hour journey, you're literally stopping for 5 minutes. And finally, the infrastructure required for swap is fairly easy to build. You don't need much government approvals. You do not need much construction. It's a very simple plug-and-play solution. So you solve 3 out of the 5 challenges on electric adoption. But the elephant in the room is the capital cost. And while electric makes sense, but the upfront capital cost is a hindrance. And therefore, what battery swap does allow to some extent is you can separate the truck from the battery and give the truck without the battery at a far more cheaper capital cost and battery can be given as a service or energy as a service. There are multiple business models. So when you put these things together, it starts to help in adoption. I'm not saying that that's the ultimate answer for electric adoption, but I think in India, you will have to find solutions which are suitable for this country. And we are all trying to pioneer the alternate fuel movement in India. So we are going to experiment with various models going in, and with the little help of the government, I think you can move the needle, because fundamentally today, electric, both LNG are competitive than diesel. They are cleaner, they are more sustainable, and therefore the inflection point has already come.
Sure, sure. So while you were talking, there were some interesting things I was thinking about it. But before I come to that, what is the roughly share of EV commercial vehicles that's on road in India right now?
It's nothing, to be very honest. I think if you just take the numbers of last year, India sells about 250,000 medium and heavy duty commercial vehicles every year, of which if you just take electric, last year sold would be about 700 to 800. And LNG would be 500 to 600. So we are really not even scratching at the surface.
Right.
Okay, but if there's any consolation, that number used to be 200 the year before.
Right.
So it is growing, and you are going to see those numbers scaling up this year as well. And if you leave it to organic growth, it will grow, on its own pace. But if you really want mass penetration to happen, then I think that we need to think about it a little differently.
Sure. I think you figured out a blue ocean and then you built your idea across it. And as you just mentioned that we're just scratching the surface right now, there's a huge opportunity that's out there. So if we talk about the infrastructure that which is basically a plug and play model for battery swapping, so you must have established those across the country. How many of those are there? I mean, if you look at a few routes where you've placed those infrastructure, so how does that play out? How many do we have as of now? If you can give me rough numbers.
So I think from our standpoint, we are right now electrifying the Mumbai-Pune corridor. That's our first pilot that we are doing. The stations are up and running, and trucks are already started to operate on that corridor. This is going to be more of a corridor play, because electric normally works best on a fixed route structure. So we believe that swap stations and fixed routes would be the first adoption for battery swaps.
So it makes it more predictable, basically.
Yeah. So we have identified several corridors. We are going to start with Mumbai-Pune. We are going to make sure that the pilot is successful in this corridor, so that we iron out all the nuances. And depending upon how those results are, then we decide how fast we want to scale it. We have a strong conviction that it should work. But like I said, with any new technology, until you prove it, it's still, the jury is still out.
Definitely. So if realistically we talk about the setup of the battery swapping infrastructure, basically, so how does that play out? Like how real is it? How practical is it to place, or let's say take one corridor once, and then you electrify that, and then you run your EVs on that? How long will it take? I mean, I still think that this is not an easy job. Like, even if it's a plug and play model, it's not that easy to just set up and then you start with your EVs running there.
Look, charging infrastructure is coming up across the country anyways. Right. The government of India is also incentivizing charging infrastructure in a massive way. If electrification has to happen, charging infrastructure has to come up. It's the same in China, it's same in Europe, same everywhere. So battery swapping infrastructure is no different than putting a charging infrastructure, because you still need the land, you still need to develop it, you still need the upstream infra, you still need the grid connectivity, all of that is there. So I don't think the swapping infrastructure per se is really the concern here. I think as you gain momentum in a model that works, it will take a life of its own. Okay. Ultimately, I personally believe that in India, if you have a model that commercially works, operating economics works, and everybody wins, it's scalable. So the real opportunity today is we know electrics work. We just have a certain adoption challenge and everybody is trying to find a solution to crack that. This is one way to crack it. I don't know whether this is the ultimate answer, but this is one way to crack it. And maybe there is multiple other ways and everybody in the industry is trying to figure that out. But we do know that this is coming. It's here, it works, economics works. We just need to now unlock the adoption, which is just on the fringes.
Sure, sure. So one more thing. We have a well-established network of petrol pumps, and now CNGs also. At least in the cities, we have CNGs. Don't you think that people who are establishing companies who are establishing EV infrastructure, be it charging, be it battery swapping, or a company like Blue Energy, that they should come into some partnerships, or do you think that is possible? And then you set up your stations, leveraging their land, their infrastructure.
So I think the good thing about the EV revolution is that it is a cooperative approach. Nobody can do one thing. So there are multiple stakeholders across the platform and they all are coming together to chip in to this whole ecosystem, as we call it. So there are gas stations like IOC, HPCL, BPCL who are coming in and saying, okay, let's partner together. There are financiers who are coming in saying, let's partner together. There is government with the policy push. Fleet operators are coming in. End users are coming in. So I think that there is a coordinated effort and everybody is participating in one way or the other to make this happen. But having said that, I think that we've still not found the way we can unlock this and transition this at scale. We've not found that answer to that yet. And there are answers out there for it. And I think we are all working towards it. A little bit of a policy push always helps. We are experimenting with a certain model, which can also help. So, like I said, we are at the inflection point. This is going to happen. It's just now, we're just a matter of time. And the West Asia crisis has further given the tailwind for this to happen.
Sure. So, Anirudh, as you are in this industry, right, you're one of the pioneers when it comes to commercial EV. And you have given the example of China, as an economy who has a well-established network of EVs. What do you think China has cracked that India is still lacking, or maybe that we are about to, crack that thing, but we're still not there yet?
So I think I can talk about commercial vehicles in more specific.
Yeah, in that sector, yes.
Because I understand that. See, China structurally is different than India. While of course we can argue that government is, over there, the government regulations drive a lot of initiatives. But I'm going to park that for the moment. If you simply look at the structural way the China commercial market is structured, their base price of diesel trucks is much higher than a base price of diesel trucks in India. And therefore, their electric trucks are 15 to 20% incremental to their already established diesel trucks. So therefore, if you have a 70 to 75% operating cost advantage and you are giving a 15 to 20% incremental capital cost, the economics works, the math works. And that is the reason why after the initial push of 10, 20, 30,000 trucks, it just scaled and it is scaling up very fast. And if public reports are to go by, they are talking about moving to almost 100% green trucking in the next 3 to 5 years. So, which is massive. That's like you're taking a 1.2, 1.3 million truck market annually, moving from 0 to 100 in a matter of decade. That's generational, okay? That just shows the power of disruption. And I believe that that is one of the reasons why commercial vehicles adoption happened so fast in China. I don't think so India will go through that journey because structurally, our base of diesel trucks are much lower. Battery prices are what they are, and therefore the electric trucks still come at a 2.5 to 3 times the cost of diesel trucks. So you have a structural capital cost problem that you need to solve if mass adoption has to take place. So I don't think so you can really compare India to China on that sense when it comes to commercial vehicles.
Sure, no, I think you are right on a part that we cannot directly compare the Indian market with the Chinese market, but it was more to understand how they had undertaken their journey and succeeded in it to be where they are today. Uh, you mentioned multiple times about the capital cost problem, right? So I want to understand one more thing. So when we talk about battery industry in India, right? Since the entire EV industry is based on batteries, right? That's the foundation of it. So what are the challenges that India faces when it comes to battery manufacturing or battery distribution, the entire supply chain, right? Why the costs are so high, and is there a way through which we can actually reduce the costs?
So I think, the battery for commercial vehicles, in this example, you separate it into two buckets. One is the cell. Currently, India does not have any cell maker who's coming out of its cell. There's lots of companies in the pipeline. So we'll see as and when they come. So therefore, you are exposed to cell imports. And that, given the foreign exchange, given the cell prices, you are constantly exposed on that issue with countries like China. Rest, and then you come to the other side, which is the battery pack. I think battery pack, India has gone quite ahead in localization. So most of the packs are starting to get localized in India. The technology and the capability is there, and people are building their packs in India. So I think that journey is already on its way. And I often say this, I think in India, we have such a robust auto component supply chain that once you have the demand, the supply chain will build capability of localizing everything in India. Okay. But if your numbers are what it is today, those numbers does not justify investments in a hurry, because you need economies of scale to be cost competitive. Now, if China is doing 40,000 trucks a month versus India is doing 700 trucks a year, you can't compete on the economies of scale. And in automotive, you need economies of scale to be very cost effective. So China, because of its scale, has been able to bring their cost per unit down. So they are very cost effective there. In India, as we start to scale up, as the volume starts to build up, you will see the costs finally starting to come down.
Sure, sure. So yeah, I think you're pretty much on the way you said that the more we develop the supply chain, the more we have technology coming in, and the more battery manufacturing will be there as an always start, the cost will go down. Another thing that I want to know from you is, like, when we talk about commercial vehicles, right, and EVs, and battery of course plays a key role. But how does this entire battery ecosystem plays a key role in energy security? Energy security is one of the key terms today, as we see, and it has become quite crucial today, especially considering the global uncertainties that we see today happening. So how does this ecosystem add to that?
So a very simple example, a diesel truck on an average consumes 30 to 35,000 liters of diesel a year. If you assume an electric truck has a life of 7 years or 8, whatever the number is, you are roughly replacing one electric truck with 200,000 liters of diesel.
Sure.
That's your math.
Yeah.
Okay. So while you still continue to import the cell, but on the overall scheme of things, you start to see that the benefits start to become in favor of electric. And hopefully, if we are able to find an answer for cell in India, then it completely eliminates it. But at least it's a step in the right direction, and you're moving the needle far to the extreme on this issue.
No, I think you're right. At least if we talk about all in all, that we are moving towards the right direction. And if we do not have a well-established EV industry, it's going to be, right. We have already started in that.
And see, one thing is very clear. Historically, efficiency wins. And if you look at powertrain efficiency of diesel or hydrogen compared with electric, in any metrics, electric is the most efficient. Okay, so when you look at energy getting converted into kinetic energy, electric is the most efficient energy converter. So all roads lead ultimately to the most energy efficient mechanism. And therefore, I believe that electric definitely gives a further fillip, and not to mention it's completely green. Today, you can there is no other technology which is competing with electric in a hurry, because it is, in addition to all the other benefits, it's clean and green.
Sure, sure. So just one thing I was a little curious about while you were talking, and it's a little off the grid of the conversation that we have. So, you know, like you have established a battery swapping station, and trucks are coming in swapping the batteries that are there at the station are getting charged. So let's say we scale this up, right, and we see thousands or lakhs of trucks in the future. We see lakhs of trucks operating on battery swapping technology, or let's say using charging stations. So the consumption of electricity that will go up, do you think that will at any point in time would become a challenge, for considering the huge population also that's there as domestic consumer?
So I think there will be a challenge in the short term where generation of electricity is not the issue, because now you have solar and you can scale solar very fast. I think the issue becomes that, do you have enough transmission capability to evacuate that? And I think that the government of India is doing a very remarkable job in making that push to build transmission capability in India. And now you have this battery energy storage coming in a big way, which kind of balances the grid. So I think, with any new technology, there is disruption. So I think what India is going to see is massive disruption as you grow. But as disruption takes place, it catches up. So you will go through a period of chaos as the technology starts to find itself penetrating more deeper. And you will see the shortcomings of the infrastructure, shortcomings of various things which will come up, whether it's financing, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is battery, tomorrow it could be recycling, it could be whatever. But ultimately, if the technology has come of age, it will find its way and the market will evolve around it, and whatever the shortcomings are eventually will be resolved for it. So I think you take a directional view of 5 to 10 years from today and move in that direction, and all these pieces start to somehow get connected.
So what is the directional view for blue energy? I mean, what is your next step?
So I think we are very clear that we want to advance LNG for long haul trucking, and we want to be the catalyst for electric trucks in India. Like I said, no one player can play its only part in doing that. We are being the catalyst in driving this change, and the whole objective ultimately is the larger vision of decarbonizing heavy duty truck in India.
Right. So, Anirudh, I think it's been a wonderful conversation, and I think we've got multiple insights from you, be it about holistically on the industry, or be it about the energy security, or how the industry overall is growing, how we are evolving towards an EV preferred, or let's say EV first, economy. So, thank you for sharing your thoughts, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tejas.
So, as we've seen that EV is the way forward, and India as an economy, moving ahead in the right direction. So, no matter which technology wins, be it the EV, be it the LNG, be it diesel, any other fuel, what matters at the end is it sustainable, affordable, and could become a preferred fuel for the people and for the industry. Now, considering EV and the technologies that are being developed, we probably see EV becoming one of the most preferred fuel for the commercial vehicle sector in the times to come. So stay tuned for more such engaging and interesting conversations. Thank you.